and welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. Kay Murray, Casey Keller and Stevie Nicol here in the studio. Lots to look back on today, especially in the Premier League, where we saw some upsets on the opening round. But we will kick things off in La Liga and head out to Cornellà, where Dan, Sid and Ale were in presence for Espanyol against Real Madrid. We got to see Mourinho's Real Madrid for the first time, and they left it late, Dan, but they got it done.
They most certainly did, Kay. Goodness me, talk about a blockbuster ending. It looked like they were going to drop 2 points, but in the end, of course, it was their star new signing, Sid. Who got the win?
Do you know what? It had to be Carlos Espí in a way.
Yes.
21-year-old from Levante, a guy who rescued them from relegation last season, and he comes on and scores the goal. He's the one genuine out-and-out centre-forward they have.
And boy, did they need him in the end, Ali.
Well, they did. There was a chance there for Kylian Mbappe early on in the second half, which he missed from a my kind of range. But then after that, Real Madrid, while they had a lot of the ball and they seemed to be on the verge of creating something, they never really did create something that was significant enough. And really the goal, while it is a blockbuster finish in terms of the result, Dan, the goal itself is broken play, rebound. Oh, there it is.
Very excited indeed as the whole team would make it down into the corner flag to celebrate with Espí as Real Madrid get the win. You look at those stats, you think, oh, Real Madrid maybe a little bit unlucky, didn't take their chances. There weren't that many chances clear-cut for Real Madrid. They were definitely the better team, but this has definitely left more questions for Jose Mourinho to answer with regards to how he's going to set this team up to get the best out of those front three.
And let's not forget, towards the end of the first half, Espanyol have a chance by Roberto Fernandez, a header that is a tap-in that is somehow he misses it. And it could have been 2-0 and really should have been 2-1 for Espanyol, I should say. He misses that chance. Real Madrid comes out at halftime. You're thinking that there's going to be something better from Real Madrid, that there's going to be dominance. And while there was dominance, that didn't really translate into clear opportunities. And so in the case of Jose Mourinho, I suppose that you can kind of build in the excuse that, listen, you're working your team back into fitness, you're working your team back from the World Cup. We haven't really seen what his starting 11 is going to be on the field. But what I don't like or didn't like from Real Madrid today is that first 50 minutes, excellent. Everybody pressing, everybody running, hard work. And then once they go up, then they took a step back, which is something that they did so often last season. And that's the part that I think the attitude of Real Madrid has to change. And it didn't change today. It may change over time with Jose Mourinho, but it didn't change today because they decided to give the ball back to Espanyol and give them the initiative. That's unacceptable.
Look, we weren't going to see a completely different Real Madrid today.
No, of course we weren't.
Despite the personnel, despite Jose Mourinho on the bench, but there were similar problems, weren't there? Is that fair to say?
I think
from
so.
What we saw last season?
And I think what Ali's talking about is right as well, that there were periods last season when they were pressed high, and it was the ability to maintain that throughout a game, or the willingness to maintain it throughout a game, and I think we saw elements of that again. I don't think it's natural to, or I don't think it's unnatural for them to be faced by some of the same issues as last year. I think that issue of finding a way behind teams that play deep is going to be there, and that's partly why Espí is there. But yeah, of course, these are issues that they have to work through, and we still have the question mark about the front three, the three superstars. How do you find the right places on the pitch for them to work well together?
Konate and Dumfries, how do we rate their performances today?
Well, I don't think we saw a huge amount from any of them. I thought we saw Bernardo Silva look a little bit out of place at times. I thought his performance actually, I thought, obliged Fede Valverde to do more running than he would have wanted to, albeit Fede Valverde, what he does so well is run and cover a huge amount of ground. I don't think we saw very much from Dumfries. We saw maybe a little bit more from Trent, certainly in an attacking sense. But then we know that, don't we? We know that they've got two different profiles of defender there. One that will defend a bit more and one that will play a little bit more, albeit Dumfries is an athlete and can get up and down the pitch. And so I don't think we were surprised really and truly by the performance of those players.
I think Bernardo Silva's role, if Jose Mourinho is going to be stubborn enough to think this is the guy that's going to play central midfield for me, they're going to run into trouble.
Let me stop you for a moment. Is it stubborn, or is it faced with no other alternative?
No, I think there are alternatives.
Okay.
And Bernardo Silva is a very good player, but he's a player that is not tactically disciplined because he wants to go and get on the ball, and because of that work rate on trying to go and get the ball, as a central midfielder, you have to have the discipline to sit centrally. We saw him today, and I pointed it out to you many times while we were watching the game, Dan. He's over there drifting to the right. He's over here drifting here. He's over there drifting over there. And he's not in a central position, which then, to your point, Sid, makes Fede Valverde have to cover 20, 30 yards at a time, in which then he gets himself out of position. And think about where the goal comes from for Espanyol. They build on the left-hand side. Yes, a 1v1 situation. Poor defending, actually, by Arda Güler and Denzel Dumfries in a wide area.
Yanda Miande making his debut, the most expensive signing in the history of Real Madrid. What sort of impact did he make, in your opinion?
I suppose that we expect a lot when a guy like Jan Diomande comes in because of the numbers, because of what the transfer fee was. Then the first time that he touches the ball, he plays it backwards, and I'm like, look, I don't want somebody to go and play it backward. They're about to take a throw in, and he's pointing, hey, just play it back there. No, you get the ball. You, in a 1v1 situation, get after somebody. When he started doing that, he became more dangerous for Real Madrid. And Real Madrid, even if it was by rebounds, they were now creating more opportunities.
Are we being too negative? Real Madrid did win.
It depends what you mean by are we being too negative. No, because naturally the first game of the season with a new manager, you're looking for things that are new and we haven't seen them. But maybe yes, in the sense that we shouldn't expect to see them on the first game. We shouldn't expect to see a really radical change from before. And we saw some of the flaws of before, but we also saw a team that, as you say, created sufficient chances to win the game, did win it a bit late, but probably deserved to win it as well.
Too negative?
I don't believe that we're being too negative. When you bring in back Jose Mourinho, it creates an expectation. It elevates what this team should be. You make all the investments that you have made in players. You make all the changes. And so, okay, let me see.
Yeah.
Let me see it. And what we saw today is that at times, there is something there that you can build upon, but then at times you saw some of the same issues that we saw last season. And so I don't sense that it's being too negative as much as it is, look, the problems are still there. The hole in the center of midfield is still there. The role, I think, of Cucurella is going to help Vini Jr. because in Cucurella being down the left-hand side, sometimes force Vini to get in a more central position, and then that force him to go and combine with Kylian Mbappe and go and combine with the speed, which actually the genesis of the goal, if you will, comes from broken play by Vini Jr., broken play from Kylian Mbappe, and even by numbers, just by numbers, you're able to then go and score the goal. So there's certain things to build upon, but let's not kid ourselves. This team has issues that are going to have to be addressed.
And Jose Mourinho, of course, will be looking to address those on Wednesday as Real Madrid have their first home game of the season as they take on Real. So you should add, like every other single La Liga game this season, you can see it live on the ESPN app.